Today's camera is a camera which I've owned before, but I never actually got to test. And I recently bought another of these to test and to do a review on, and it's a Voigtlander, and it's a Voigtlander Brillant. And these were first produced in 1932, and there's a post-war version as well, which I think was done until 1949. This one I think is what they call a V6, and I think it's just pre-war. And let's talk about it, because TLR's twin lens reflex cameras were made popular by the great Rolleiflex company, and the Rolleiflex, which came out just before the war, was a groundbreaking camera. Cameras had traditionally been quite big, and they were getting smaller, and although Leica had come out in 1931-32 with its 35mm camera, 35mm film still had to be enlarged quite a lot, and there was problems with grain. And with 120 film 6x6, it was bigger and the quality was better. But it was a film that was used in the box camera, and this was almost a cross between the TLR. Obviously it's got two lenses, but it was quite a basic camera. And from the mid-30s it was made in Bakelite, it was made in plastic. And although there is a focusing version of this, the first version, obviously the lens focuses, but not the viewing lens. So let's talk a little bit about this camera, how to use it, and how I got on with it. Because at first sight, it seems very straightforward. You focus, and it's in meters, and some of them are in feet, and some of the early ones had a mountain and tree were basically zone focusing. And to operate, so you have to focus, set the aperture on the side, and set the shutter speed. So I've set it to 100 here. Focus, aperture is on the side. So let's say it's quite sunny, so I'm going to go for sunny 16, and you have to bring the shutter down here and then click. So that's using, and obviously you look through here, and we've got a very, very bright viewfinder, and it's really clear how to load a film. That's slightly tricky, not too tricky, but there is a procedure I'm going to tell you about. Open the camera at the top here. Nice little moving part at the top here to put in our empty spool. The spool goes up the top. The film, this is actually a blank film, but the film goes in at the bottom here. It just slots in like so. Nothing complicated there, but this is the slight complicated bit. And actually it's very similar to the Rolleiflexes. There's a movement here, a roller, and the film actually goes under the roller. And the Rolleiflexes, if we don't do that, the counter won't work in the slot and wind on. Now, this is the slightly tricky bit. So it's a start there, but it's not quite the start. We put the back on, and we wind the film until we get a number 1 on the red window. Well, that sounds obvious. So surely number 2 is in the red window. Well, if you do that, you are going to have a bit of an issue. And if you keep to the red window, you will only get 8 on a film with a big space between them. Because when this camera first came into production, the back of the film only had 8, because it was designed to be 6x9. In order to get 12 on the counter, there's a counter here, right? And what we do, we wind on to until we get number 1. So just wind on and eventually we get number 1. It all seems like a long time. Here comes number 1, 3 dots, 4 dots, 5 dots, and then we've got the number 1. So we put the number 1 in the middle, and then on the side here there's a tiny little metal piece. We press the metal piece and that whirring sound will take us to a number 1 there, and on to the next number, and you will in that case get 12 on the film. As I said, very light, not the most sophisticated of cameras, but let's see how I got on when I actually used it. Oh, there was one last point I forgot to mention. This is a camera with a door, because originally it had 2 little filters in there, a yellow filter and a polarizing filter. So if you find the filter, that is brilliant. Excuse the pun. And up here we have a depth of field scale, which again is quite useful. Interesting camera. Let's see how it actually performed when I used it. The first image I was really pleased with. It's quite sharp. It's, yes, there's a bit of glare there from the sun, but that's not bad at all. Good range of tones. Not bad for a camera of 60-70 years old. And again, this image I was moderately surprised about. It's moderately sharp. The tones are absolutely fine. Again, this camera is beginning to nicely surprise me. Again, different conditions, but a bright sunny afternoon. Again, perhaps I would like a bit more tonal variation, but it's not bad. Now, there is one issue that I didn't set the counter on this, so I've only got 8 photographs to row. Again, this is Warm World Church, and again, it's a very usable image. Yes, it could be slightly sharper, but a camera of this age, and this camera, I think it could, as I said in the original description, it could be just after the war, and it might be a coated lens. Looking at this, it could be a coated lens. But it's a very usable camera. I have slightly dismissed these as being a little bit cheap and a little bit plastic, but the evidence I've got from this film proves to me that actually these cameras could be quite a good buy, especially if you want to get into 2.25 medium format, and some of the cameras are so expensive. The Brillant might be a way of starting. I really enjoyed using this camera. I would like to find one with the filters in the little box. Going back to Weymouth, again, it could just be a little bit sharper, but it's a usable image. This camera I really enjoyed using. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the near future for some more camera videos.